Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, June 1st, 2023 South Haven Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And Luke, if you crack on with the roll, please.
Clark Gruber.
Here.
Larry Heinig.
Here.
Darrell Williams. Michael Neese.
Here.
Amy Nichols.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Janice Varney.
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Now, one announcement we have is Lige has resigned from the commission. So we now have an opening. Is there anything you'd like to say about that, Kelly?
I just want to thank Lige for the time that he gave to this commission. I think we're all grateful for his service, and at some point during the meeting, maybe at the end, we'd like to appoint another member to the subcommittee for the fire pits
Yes.
and grills.
Okay. Where should we put that on the agenda when we go to approve it?
10.5.
And point, well,
Seven,
it's
7A?
7A.
I think 7A. That suits me better. All right. Okay. Thank you. And as a reminder, we do not have air conditioning this evening, and a lot of the lights are off. So if it seems a little dim, that's why. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda and amend it to add a 7A.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, adding item 7A under new business actionable, selecting a new individual to sit on the fire pit committee.
Okay.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, approval of the meeting minutes, May 4th, May 18th, special.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May the 4th and May the 18th.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the Planning Commission regarding items on the agenda for which there is no scheduled public hearing. You'll have 5 minutes. State your name and address, and I believe item 6 and 9 and 10. 6, 9, and 10 would be the appropriate ones to comment on at this time.
And 7A, Mr. Chair.
Oh, and 7A, yes.
Good evening. My name is Nick Lanting. I'm president of Dune Restoration Services Incorporated. We're located on M43, just north of Jericho Corners. Have been there for incorporated for a year, and previous version of us was 2 years. We restore bluffs, we mitigate erosion, we provide access to Lake Michigan. And last year alone, we constructed more than 40 beach stairs, and we've concluded contracts with municipalities and have recently signed an agreement to build for the city of Grand Rapids. Surprisingly, has lakeshore property. We currently employ 14 employees with 2 new hires coming on next week. Instead of purchasing materials or seeking support services online or in other cities, we have partnered with a wide range of South Haven businesses, including Overijssel, Rod's Prints and Promotion, Pat's Pronto Prints, Sturgis Bank, Hart Insurance, DeBoer Bauman, and Jensen's Excavating. We are very pleased to have located our company in this community. I have one observation, I have a 2-part proposal, and 3 benefits for South Haven. Here's my observation. We pull building permits in 11 jurisdictions across 3 counties, and nobody requires us to submit beach stair or deck permit applications to a building commission, much less a harbor commission. In Berrien County, Chickaming Township doesn't do this, nor does Hager Township, nor does Lincoln Charter Township, nor does New Buffalo Township, nor does the city of New Buffalo, nor does the village of Grand Beach. In Allegan County, Saugatuck Township doesn't do this, Ganges Township doesn't do this. In Ottawa County, Grand Haven Township doesn't do this, Port Sheldon Township doesn't do this, and the city of Grand Haven doesn't do this. I know this because I pulled those permits. I have a building license, residential building license, and none of them asked me to do any of those things. So here's my two-part proposal. Delegate stair construction and deck construction on the beach to code enforcement officers. This is their work. They do this already. Every other area that has it this way. They ensure that the stairs are to code. There's continuous graspable handrail, continuity of treads and risers, 4-inch ball rule, maximum rise of 12 feet 4 inches before a platform is made. They make sure that the Eagle regulations are followed. That's what. Second proposal, provide a rapid turnaround for permit requests. I recommend 2 weeks. That's about the standard for most jurisdictions. 3 important benefits. 1, currently people I've seen in South Haven often don't build stair access on dunes, and that creates increased dune erosion, which squanders one of the great natural resources of our community. 2, people build, but without a permit. This creates unsafe structures, it violates Eagle regulations, and it punishes law-abiding contractors and citizens. 3rd, it reduces the commission's workload. Do you really want to be involved in the minutia of building stairs on dunes? It seems to me that would be a squandering of your significant resources. 1 observation, 2-part proposal, and 3 suggestions in terms of benefits. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. Regarding agenda item 9, with the proposed changes that are presented tonight, would the Riverfront PUD in agenda item 10 be required to go before the Harbor Commission before coming to the Planning Commission, because it is riverfront property development? Seems like it would, because physical development of all waterfront properties located within the city limits of the city, plans for the construction, expansion, or alteration of a dock, piling, seawall, marina, or other similar structure on the waterfront of a waterfront lot that requires the approval of the Planning Commission would be required. So it would be nice to know what's happening with that when that agenda item comes up, in light of what is adopted under agenda 9. For agenda item 10, I was just curious, it appears the total height is 30 feet, but the drawings are not clear. It only shows up to the bottom of the roof line. And so if the roof is 1.5 feet, then it's 30 feet. But that would be nice to have in the drawings to have a complete height. For density, there's reference made to the parallel plan, but section 130710B, which applies to mixed use PUDs, not 130310B, that applies to general PUDs, does not have the same standards. So the pertinent 130710B says density shall not exceed 7 dwelling units per acre. And why do we have these requirements in these PUD sections if they can be summarily waived? There would be, I appreciate the need to develop density, but it seems like with the density, we don't have the same green space, we don't have sidewalks, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have what's the amenity to the public. And so you're kind of in a balancing act where it's not really sure that the benefit to the public is outweighed to the benefit for the PUD. I'm not against the PUD per se, it's a preliminary site plan, I'm waiting for more information. I welcome development and homes along the riverfront. Everyone likes to sit out and watch the water go, but let's do it pursuant to the ordinance. I wasn't sure if any of this is in the floodplain and whether the county drain commissioner needs to provide approval. If it does, it seems like that should be the first step before any PUD is approved. If there are changes for the proposed dock, then obviously that would have to go before the Harbor Commission. That's not clear. The screening, it was so nice to see in the final report that the city admits that screening is required for a PUD, because that was something that was not required in the Overton, but that is not going forward. So I won't digress. The vinyl privacy fence, however, that's suggested, in talking with residents in Ward 3, They had suggested maybe something a little more natural to blend in that wouldn't have as much glare as the vinyl fencing. And so you're requested to consider that as part of the requirement for the PUD. Runoff. So with this right on the riverfront and putting in homes, they're going to probably want vegetation, which could then result in nutrients, and then you're adding the extra nitrogens to the water, which is not environmentally sound. So when you're looking at the ground cover that they're proposing, that would be something nice so that we balance not increasing the nitrates into our water. As I said, I do appreciate the benefit of development, but let's make sure that we do have open space, especially if it's as dense. And for parking, section 9026 provides the minimum setback of the parking area includes drives within said parking area and at least a 5 feet setback from right-of-way. And so is that being, I don't know how that's being balanced because the staff report indicates that the site is so small, parking is actually, there's a shared agreement for adjoining property due to insufficient parking. And because this is a PUD, business STRs can be granted for these homes. And let's address parking from the get-go. Parking obligations in PUDs, I believe, do not apply. But let's make sure it's done the right way the first time so that we don't have a parking congestion down there, considering you can only get there from North Bailey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? And then Kelly, could you do a mic check on the podium? It seems good. No, yeah, it was, okay. Very good.
Good evening. Grace Borgfield, 302 Michigan Avenue. You all know why I'm here. I appreciate 7A, Kelly. I just hope whomever 7A is, I hope you can move this along. I've said before, I think the issues of a burning unit and a cooking unit are two different entities and should be treated as so. So I appreciate if you guys move forward. So hope you pick 7A tonight. I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. I have my PC comment log from communications we've received via email, and they are as follows. Steve and Karen Hamlin, June 1st, building height, request for no action to change the ordinance, concern for expanding building heights. I have two from Dan Agnello. One is opposition to 35-foot residential building height, and the second was support for St. Basil's School request. And the fourth is Mary Hosley, resent previous emails regarding residential building height. And that's it for public comment at this time, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Item 5, building height, proposed ordinance text amendments along with a public hearing. Kelly, if you'll give us the run-up.
Sure. So it was about 10 months ago that the Planning Commission, at the direction of the City Council, first considered proposed building height text amendments. So we've been at this a while. The text in its current state has been reviewed at several previous meetings with the sticking point seeming to be residential maximum height allowance. At the February meeting, when the Planning Commission last held a public hearing, there were 8 members present, and that resulted in a tie vote with 4 voting in favor of the text that is in your packet this evening that has residential building height set at 30 feet, and 4 preferred to keep residential building height set at 35 feet, which is the standard that is in our existing zoning ordinance. We discussed the possibility of obtaining some citywide housing data that might help, but we found we did not have a mechanism to gather that data in a timely manner. We did update the permit table that has been presented to you all in the past with single-family home permits that have been issued from 2021 through the present. Hopefully, this table helps in some way to give you a sense of the number and location of non-conforming structures that we would be creating by reducing building height to 30 feet. I know it doesn't help citywide, but it just gives you a sense of the new homes that would be rendered non-conforming by reducing building height to 30 feet. It was mentioned to me by one of you, at least one of you, that apparently it wasn't made clear that prior to the zoning text amendments that were made in 2015, the city actually had a maximum residential building height allowed of 40 feet. The city used 2 points to measure residential building height. One was the midpoint between the eaves and the peak, and the other was the peak itself. And so the maximum residential building height allowed prior to 2015 was in fact 40 feet. And so in 2015, when the Planning Commission and eventually the City Council approved text amendments, the height was reduced to 35 feet at that time. And so that's how we ended up with the 35-foot standard that we have now. So I just wanted to provide that extra bit of clarity. We do need to conduct a public hearing, discuss the text, and possible take some action to send this on to the City Council.
Right. Okay, thank you. So as you all know, this was a tie vote last time. We have a odd number sitting up here tonight, so I don't anticipate that'll be the same thing. So it's come back to us unchanged, so I think pretty much we've already discussed everything. We can do that again after the public hearing, but I don't, unless anybody has any questions for staff right now.
Just a point of clarification, Kelly. The height was 40. What, in 2015, did we have 2.5-story limit?
We did, and part of that amendment at that time was to eliminate the half-story references.
Okay, anyone else? No, good. So let's do a motion for a public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing's open. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name and address. You'll have 5 minutes.
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. You know, I don't understand why we're afraid of this word non-conforming. There's so many houses in this town that are non-conforming. By saying we can only have 30 feet high residentials, so what? So what if the house is non-conforming? It was built, the grandfather clause was built last year, year before, whatever, okay? If you look at all the new houses that are built in these neighborhoods, almost every one of them, there's a couple small ranches that are maybe 16, 20 feet high, but every one of them is 35 feet high and 2 stories at least, okay? If you look at the summary that Kelly had put in the package, you'll see that the trend has kept going up, up, and up, okay? And you drive around the city, you know, there's all these new houses are 2-story, 2.5-story, whatever, if you want to count stories, and people in those neighborhoods don't like it because it doesn't blend in with the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood. Most of the houses are 1- and 2-story neighborhoods, houses, and the heights are probably 26, 27 feet. That's the same in our PUD. So, you know, we got to look at the character of the neighborhoods. 30 feet is plenty of height for your building. And a lot of them have finished basements in it, so you end up having three stories of livable area anyway. And these tall buildings stick out, you know, like a big thumb. And I don't think if you approve the 35 feet that you're doing any justice to your constituents if it goes to the city council or to any of your neighbors. Now, I don't know if any of you people live near any of these big houses, but everyone I talk to is not in favor of it because it ruins the character of their neighborhoods. Big example is over on Edgeville. Whoever built that, they built a double house. I mean, it's a double big house, like maybe 5,000 square feet, and the middle part is like with the porches and everything. And there's a 1,000 square foot ranch right next to it, and another one on the other side. I mean, you talk about poor character of the neighborhood. It's unbelievable. They got a double lot. They started out with a two-story house with, a couple bedrooms in it, and this is an add-on, and ended up being like 6 times bigger than what it was. I just can't imagine how the people in that ranch feel about having this McMansion next to it. So I really encourage you guys to vote for the 30 feet. Because a couple of the people last time when we discussed this said, oh, this is the new norm. It's a new norm because we let them get away with it. With people do that, and that's what was in the ordinance. That's how it got to be a new norm. And everybody's trying to build the biggest house they can at 40% on their lot and make it 3-story, whatever it is, or 35 feet, okay? So I really would appreciate a good vote for the citizens, for the residents at 30 feet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Got a handout. Mary Hasley,
Here, let's get these distributed, I suppose.
there we go.
I assume you're going to refer to the handout?
The handout just reinforces what I say.
Okay.
So, Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I just want to reiterate what the 2015 amendment did. And what the Planning Commission did in 2015. Yes, they lowered the height from 40, but they also lowered the number of stories from 2.5 to 2. So you need that combination. Without that combination, you get skyscrapers. So I encourage you to lower it to 30 feet. The skyscrapers along Elkenberg in PUD and residential occurred because that 2-story requirement had been missed in transcribing into the official document. Keeping the 35 feet with no story results in those skyscrapers. That is what you will get, and that is not what the residents want. That does not protect the character of our neighborhoods. If you will not include the story requirement, then please lower the height to 30 regarding, and towards that end, the list, I have crossed out 443 North Shore Drive because you have included it twice. And once you take that down, then it's only 21 homes that exceed the 30 feet. 2 other homes, 321 Lyon and 23rd 3rd, actually never got built. So anyway, so 21 homes exceed 30 feet. That's 29%. What does that really mean? That means that over 70% of the homes since 2021 have been at or below 30 feet. Over 70%. Of those 21 homes, 5 were issued, the permits were issued just this year, just 2023, in the last 5 months. That has an increase in the building size. That also results in a 7% increase in the potentially non-conforming homes from just those this year. Of those 21 exceeding 30 feet, 8 are in PUDs. That means 62% of those are in our residential neighborhoods, affecting the residential character. For those of you who live on private drives or attached condos, place yourself in the home of the modest-sized 1,000 or smaller home with the 5,000 square foot home built next to you. That completely morphs your character of your micro neighborhood. Though it's worth repeating, these skyscrapers along Elkenberg and elsewhere through our residential neighborhoods were built because the 35-foot requirement was included in the zoning, but the transcription failed to include the critical part that kept things compliant with or consistent with our character, the 2 stories. If you will not do the 2 stories, the best way, if you need to have a single figure, is the 30 feet. That balances it. It minimizes the number of legally non-conforming. Again, Of those legally non-conforming, 5 were allowed just this year, 10 were allowed since, 10 were allowed since this issue was raised back, and the City Council sent it to the Planning Commission in July 2022. If something had been done immediately, that would have decreased by 14% the number of non-conforming homes that have been built. So by this taking so long, the number of non-complying homes has increased significantly. Of the 11 that were built, so more than half of them were built when there was just the 35-foot requirement. Again, most of those are in residential areas, and they have affected, and I believe negatively, based on comments I am hearing from our residents, our registered voters, that it has affected their quality of life because their smaller home is now dwarfed by these larger homes. 30 feet is warranted, especially if there is not a floor restriction in all residential districts, including RM and PUDs. Waivers can be obtained. They're obtained all the time, but let them establish the need for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Going once, going twice, 3 times? Okay, entertain.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, so time to discuss where you want to go with this proposed ordinance.
Well, I can certainly start, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, please do, Mike.
I'm painfully aware who's not here tonight, so I can see where the vote would go. I'm still committed to the 30-foot, and for these reasons. First of all, it supports our master plan. If you remember, our master plan says, in our goal number 2, we are to preserve the existing desired character of neighborhoods established through history and tradition, and specifically, there was an action called out in the last master plan to analyze the impact of additional regulations for limiting the size and height for new construction on lots previously occupied by a dwelling. I think that still applies. I think we do need to consider, and again, we've talked about this some time. I started out at 25 feet and 2.5 because that's what my neighborhood looks like. We can't continue to treat the city as one homogeneous neighborhood. It's not. There's a great deal of diversity in our neighborhoods, and when we pass an ordinance that covers all of our wards equally, without understanding what you see when you look out your window, then it's easy to say, oh, what's 5 feet? Before the meeting, I drove around and took a look at most of these places that are listed on the table, and thanks for that table, Kelly. It was very helpful. My other concern is, and I will admit it's an assumption, but when I see a 35-foot house with a single-car garage and a short-term rental permit in the window, it's clear to me they're not building a home. I think if we keep the language that was put in the draft here at 30 feet in the residential zoning areas, I think that will encourage more home building and less housing structure buildings. And that's my concern. It hasn't affected my community, my neighborhood directly yet, except Dan's mention of the house on Edgell is a good example of why we should be concerned. They knocked down a house that needed to be knocked down. It was in bad repair. But that particular property happened to be in one of the last neighborhoods where workforce housing is even possible. That house that was put up is no longer workforce housing. We took away a possible residence for people in my neighborhood to have possibly a starter home or a home for a family. So again, I guess my last statement is I'm committed to the 30, and I honestly believe that this is a decision that should be made by council and not the planning commission. We're unelected. We're not representatives of the people. There's obviously a great deal of conflict over this, and I think it's best left up to our elected representatives to solve that issue, not the planning commission. Thanks.
George?
Well, as I stated the last time, I'm still in the camp of leaving it at 35 feet. Since the last meeting, though, I learned what Kelly mentioned about prior to 2015, the maximum height was 40 feet, which means there may be houses that we don't know about that, again, will be legally nonconforming, and I know there's discussion that legally nonconforming is not a big deal. Well, under certain circumstances, if you have a legally nonconforming property and you go to do something with that property, you could have to bring it into compliance. And if you're in a neighborhood where maybe it's an older neighborhood that has bigger houses that have greater than 30 feet height, now you're going to have to build your house less than 30 feet, because now that's what the ordinance has right now. So I'm still worried about the number of legally nonconforming houses that we're going to have by lowering it to 30 feet. And I think there's ways to affect the character of the neighborhood other than height. And we're not doing anything but look at the height. And we're kind of looking at this from a lens of short-term rentals, and I'm not sure that's the right way to look at this, because we're looking at everything, not just houses that are going to be used for short-term rentals. So I'm still in the 35-foot camp.
Understand.
Well, I'll just jump in there then. Knowing that in 2015, we lowered it from 40 to 35. 35 is in front of us now, and I guess if we went with letting council just take care of it, we should just leave it at the 35, because that's the current rule. But they asked us to look at something, which was the half stories, and we ended up changing and looking from 35 to 30. Now, someone said, I don't know any people, residents or voters that are in favor of that. And I can just say you've got at least 2 right now that you know of. So that, I don't know if that's 100% or 1,000% improvement in the number of people that you have met. But, my current neighborhood, because the neighborhoods are, I went through a lot of different neighborhoods, 30 to 35 feet is not outside the norm in the neighborhood that I live at now. And I'm about to move to another neighborhood, hopefully. And that new neighborhood, once again, 35 feet. It's fairly normal. And there are homes that were built in the 1800s and a home that's under construction right now. So it's not outside the norm depending on the neighborhood that we go to. So lowering it from 35, from 40 down to 35, I think that's that's where we need to be. And when we talk about, Trailside and Elkenberg, that is set up as a mixed-use PUD. And right now he's putting in a mix of homes. Some of them are going to be the ranches, some are the taller homes, and then soon he will start developing, the townhouses. So there's a mix within a neighborhood. So I'm certainly don't want to change it from the current 35. I can't see why we would want to change 10 feet in a matter of 8 years.
I'm jumping in next. I am the third person because my neighborhood is also 35 feet. I'm the third one on Team 35, as I call it. But I would like to talk about these data a little bit. 29% of these homes, permits issued from 2021, are non-conforming. That's only 2021. What happened to the houses built from 1800 to 2021? That is not 29%. That could be as much as 60 or 70%. And if we're going to make a decision to make people non-conforming, we really need to consider the actual numbers. Now, I know that that is a data lift that no one has time or patience to do, and I would never ask anybody to do that. But I would ask you to think about all of your neighborhoods and how many of your houses are actually 35 feet. Because if we go to 30, they're non-conforming, and we just cost them a lot of money if they decide to do anything in their neighborhoods. And I think that is cruel and unusual to do to the voting public. I'm sorry.
Janice, Larry?
Yes, I looked over Kelly's sheet, and I did see the majority of the homes were under 30, and the newer ones that are over 30 seem to continue to increase in size. So I'm still looking at 30-foot.
Two observations. Number one, when I look at that list of heights, I'm not terribly concerned about the number on that list that we would make non-conforming. That is less than 0.5% of the homes in the city. Now, if you take it back before 2015, I don't know what the effect would be. One other thing that mitigates that is the fact that the method of measurement changed at that time also, and I don't know what effect that is. My other observation is when we're talking about what the neighbors say, that's not our role. Our role is to recommend to the city council the best planning for this city overall. It's city council's job to take the pulse of the neighborhood and make their recommendations based on that.
Okay. Well, I would tend to agree that the more you come down from the 40-foot level, the more non-conforming you'll have throughout the city. And I also firmly believe, and I've stated this many times, that I believe the original ordinance was quite clear, and the stories is an important part of that, and I still have a hard time believing that people considered there was gray territory and interpreted it in a few different ways, that I think some builders were allowed to get away with some things they shouldn't have. And I don't think just going to a static height with no story limitations is the right thing. And I still believe that now. All right, so I entertain a motion any which way somebody wants to offer one.
So let me just jump in on one thing, because I do think what you said, Tim, is part of my thinking and has been from the beginning. If we're going to make the argument that 40 feet is where we came from, then let's go back to 2.5 stories.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not remove the story requirement. You can have 35 feet, but 2.5 stories,
Right.
not unlimited stories. If we put that back in as was originally in the ordinance, I'm all for it. I'll go with your 35, but not without the story restriction.
So, anybody else have a comment? If not, well, I'm still looking for a motion.
But the stories were taken out with what was put in front of us now.
Right. And I believe the language here is
30 feet.
30.
beyond.
It's 30.
That's correct.
Yeah,
In the residential zone.
right.
So if a motion were to come forward, there would have to be, potentially, depending on how we looked at this.
Well, there's some on here, on the committee that like how this is written now. So I would assume the motion would come from those people. If
Okay.
not, if you were to say not like this, you would jump in and amend this motion right off the get.
Yes.
Would.
And Luke would have to pay attention.
That's why he's got
Yeah.
coffee.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend to City Council the adoption of the revisions to the ordinance as printed.
Okay. It's been a motion as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Luke, we'll have to call a roll on this.
Sleepa.
No.
Vonnie.
Yes.
Gruba.
No.
Heinig.
Yes.
Neese.
Yes.
Nichols.
No.
Stegman.
Ooh, I get the tie vote. Or the tie breaking vote, I should say. No. So motion fails. Is there another motion?
No, you can say.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the revised ordinance with the change of section 405 from 30 feet to 35 feet.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported with the change in height. So how do you think this one would play out from the zoning administrator's standpoint with the height change, going the other way without the stories?
I don't
This
understand.
is just a flat, this is just a flat, from, instead of 30 feet, now it's 35 feet, still without the stories.
Correct.
Well, one of the things we could do, we could ask that individual.
Well, Mr. Chairman, when would be an appropriate time to put forward an amendment to include the stories?
Now.
Right now, yeah.
But we wouldn't be changing that, we might as well just say we want to keep the original. No changes.
The original was
from-
35
The-
feet and 2.5 stories.
Mr. Chairman, there are other items in here in terms of measurement, how we determine original ground. So we might want to consider an amendment so that those are kept in our recommendation.
The intent of the
Yeah, we were asked.
height amendment was to remove the story limitations from all of the districts, because the current ordinance has story limitations in some of the districts, but not all of the districts. And so the purpose was to simplify the measurement and make it more consistent.
And to me, a 35-foot building with 2.5 stories or 3 stories is still a 35-foot building. And in fact, a 2.5-story building probably may look exactly like a 3-story building when you're inside. And I've seen some good ones over on the north side that, you know, many buildings that look fine for the character. I think going with the 35 and leaving, you know, the ordinance amendments as in front of us at 35 feet, giving that to council, and then council giving us some kind of direction to say, okay, at this point, do we want to change how we look at this building heights other than R1A, R1B, R1C, and look at more of a neighborhood? Because I can concur that the neighborhood that you live in, Mike, does look different than the neighborhood that I live in. Okay, we have wonderful neighbors. It's just that the buildings, they are different. And mine is a mix of brand-new buildings and pretty large buildings, you know, anywhere in the late 1800s to the early 20s and 30s of different heights.
I agree, Clark. I mean, it doesn't sound like we have that option, but again, just the thought I want to plant in our minds moving forward on anything we do is to stop treating this city as a homogeneous neighborhood. We are different. There are reasons that municipalities put overlays into districts, into their zoning, just their zoning areas. Certainly maintaining the tradition and character of Clark's neighborhood is different than my neighborhood. My neighborhood should not have to sacrifice to keep the tradition and character of Clark's neighborhood intact.
nor vice versa, but I don't think that was necessarily put in front of us by council. They wanted us to look at this. And, Chairman has another point being, we just do nothing. However, Vice Chair said, well, there was also some measurement assistance to assist staff. And that's part of it too, is we do need to assist staff. This is just a recommendation. We could provide this as a recommendation to council and then also provide an additional note in that our concerns are applying to neighborhoods other than just zoning districts. And that's a concern that we have as a commission.
I did have a question, and I'll just use page 19, section 408, R2 height regulations, where it says flat roofs and mansard roofs shall be no greater than 25 feet at the highest point. How do you interpret that? What does that mean?
Sometimes with a flat roof, we receive requests to put a deck or some other decorative feature on the top of the roof. And so if there's decking on the top of a flat roof, for example, we would measure height from the top of the deck rails rather than the top of the roof itself. So the roof height the roof can be 25 feet tall, but then we measure overall height from that highest point.
So if
Am I
the
answering
deck-
your question?
So if the deck rail's 4 feet off the roof, that would mean the roof could be no higher than 31 foot if it was a 35-foot cap.
Right.
Am I right? Or do we need to be more explicit so
About the
going
flat roofs?
forward, there's no ambiguity to that?
Flat roofs and mansard roofs shall be no greater than 25 feet. at
Brad,
the highest
you have-
point. I think-
Traditionally, the mansard, can you, is this, okay.
You're there.
Traditionally, the mansard roofs, too, the reason they do that is because you all know what a mansard roof is. That floor is inside the roof.
Yeah.
And it's a complete, full livable floor. So often, if someone's meeting the height limitation, they can actually squeeze in a third floor to a roof if you had like a 2-story and X amount of feet. However, if it was a mansard and we measured that the roof actually started between the eave and the top of the roof itself, they could actually fit a whole nother floor in there. That's usually why that provision is in these types of ordinances.
Okay. Do you have that? Okay. All right, there is a motion, and it has been supported for 35, correct?
Correct.
Anything else? If not, we'll go to a vote. Guess you can always come back later.
Again, I just common sense, it's not the first time we've gone back to council and say, you know what? We have differing opinions. Listen to your constituents, you make the decision. And that's where I stand.
Sometimes things are better left alone.
Yep.
Okay, then everybody's clear on the motion that was made? All right, Luke, if you'd call the roll.
Sleepa,
Yes.
Vaughney,
No.
Gruba,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Neese,
No?
Nichols,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. So that passes, that's what'll be recommended to city council, and we'll see what they do with it. There, that one's been on there.
And I would hope that they read through the notes of our discussion. I think we brought up some really good points.
One would hope.
One would hope, okay. So we're not passing along an official note
Oh, we're passing
What?
35.
about the neighborhood, the recommendations for, is there any other official recommendation to the council?
Oh, other than 30, 35? I don't know. What do you guys want to do with this?
We put
We've had it.
together some really good discussion with regards to our struggles with this. This is a second meeting that this has come up. And I'm not sure if we have anyone here who hasn't really put good effort and good thought and good logic into where they were coming from. And I would hope, and I don't know if this would be the encapsulated, the official word would be that maybe looking strictly at zoning, the zoning map is the best way to apply that when it comes to a neighborhood. I don't know.
Well, Clark, I agree with you.
It's first for everything.
My hope of hopes is that the members of council put as much studied thought to it as we have.
I drove around neighborhoods. I looked at, when I run, I look all over the place.
Well, I know, so do I. I mean, we do that, but we're not council members. Some of us are.
But yeah, some are.
There might be some in the audience.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I hope that they do take their time and do consider the history of the conversations that we've had. Because I'll be the first one to get a hold of my council people and say, that's not a recommendation. That was the majority vote.
Well, part of this wasn't a one-issue amendment.
No, it was not.
We were talking about finished grade, where the measurement's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
from. We went round and round with that, and quite a few other items, so it's actually quite substantial.
It is. We did good work. It's just that we have one issue that divides this commission almost equally. Had IG still been here, it would have been a 4-4 vote. We know that.
Yeah, that's what it would have been. All right, so, Luke, could you read me back that last motion that was approved?
Motion by Sleeper, second by Nichols, to recommend approval of the revised ordinances with change of section 405 from 30 feet to 35 feet.
I think that's pretty clear. What else were you looking for?
Only if there was any other official recommendation regarding review of neighborhoods. We talked about, that came up in the conversation previously.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that wasn't intended to be part of the motion.
No. That's one of those character discussions, and there's no right or wrong.
Absolutely.
That's a no-win conversation. Okay. I think we're quite clear. We can move on, correct?
I just have,
Brad? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into this.
That's okay.
405
Monkey
is
away.
the single family. R2 was also moved down to 30. So the way that you all just voted it,
Sorry.
you would allow 35 in the single family, but if you built a duplex, you would have to build a 30-foot house.
Okay. What do you think of that?
Brad, I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Repeat that.
Yeah.
We left the R2 district as 30 feet.
Right.
So if you build a duplex, it has to be 30 feet. I'm just want to make sure that you're aware of that, if you had intentions of removing 30.
Yes, that was clear.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify.
I guess.
George?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking maybe that would cover the other sections too, but that's not how I worded it, so I would need to probably amend that motion.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to make a new motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
For that particular section.
Yeah.
Complicated.
All right, I'll make another motion to recommend approval to City Council revised zoning ordinance, changing also Section 408 to 35 feet.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. So my question to you, Brad, does that cover all the 30 and 35 language, or is there more?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Look at RM1 as well, please, section 503.
It's, duplexes as well. So I just wanted to make sure that if you were intending to change only one section.
No. So maybe the more appropriate would be to strike any language that's related to 30 and replace it to 35 throughout the entire ordinance. Would that work? Is that better for staff? Or would you like us to
Yes.
spell out each spot?
No, because the height, the 30-foot references are only in the residential districts. So that works. The business districts are all higher.
So that would be 405, 408,
And 503.
503.
30. You can amend it for those, George's motion.
Yeah, I would make an amendment to George's motion to make sure we include 35 feet in height in sections 405, 408,
503.
503.
Yeah. Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and supported to amend the motion. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Varney,
No,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Neese,
No.
Stegman.
Yes, motion passes. So we're back to the motion as amended. Any further discussion?
We don't have a second on that motion.
Oh, what?
Sorry, we don't have a second on the original motion by Sleeper.
I thought we did. Clark had.
Oh, I
Recommended it.
seconded, or I made the emotion.
He did,
The amendment.
George did the first motion, Clark seconded it. And
No, I
then Clark
seconded
did the amendment and George seconded it.
Yeah, I seconded it, Clark did the amendment, and then George seconded it. You missed me. Thanks, Luke.
So it's still an active motion on the floor. All right, so the motion as amended is before us. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll do one more roll call.
Neese,
No.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Varney,
no,
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. That's what goes to city council now. All right. Now we're off to the next item. Item 6, it's election time.
It is. All
Kelly?
right. Each year, the city council makes board and commission appointments, and after the city council does that at our first regular meeting, the planning commission must also select a chair, vice chair, and ZBA liaison. And Chairman Stegman has been serving as the chair, and our vice chair has been Mr. Heinig, and Larry Heinig has been the ZBA liaison as well, and both are willing to continue on if that is the wish of this board. If not, you may select an alternate course of action, but we'll be looking for action tonight.
I would make a motion to elect for the upcoming year the officers as presented in the packet, Chair Tim Stegman, Vice Chair Larry Heinig, and ZB Liaison Larry Heinig.
I support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. You sure nobody else wants to take these positions over? Or we could do
I
a
did want-
dance-off this year.
Did want
Dance.
to point out, Tim, that we did like the 10-minute meeting we had with Larry as chair. but,
Yeah, the one item.
You have some work to do, that's what he's saying.
That's why I wasn't here. That was the easy lift. So, okay, well, we appreciate the support. Any other discussion? No? I think we'll just say, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And we're stuck another year, Larry.
Yep. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, next item. Item 7, Superior Street, 94 Superior Street, the St. Basil Catholic School, special land use and public hearing. And this can be found on page, what is it here?
29.
29?
29?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe we can utilize the big screen for this one since we have some drawings so everybody can
Sure.
see the property we're talking about.
Would you
Very
like
good.
29?
All right, Kelly.
Okay. St. Basil School has applied for a special land use and site plan review to install a temporary mobile classroom structure that will be approximately 28 feet by 70 feet onto an existing paved surface between the existing school and church buildings. The structure is needed due to increasing enrollment and programmatic changes at the school, and the principal of the school is here tonight, and I will leave it to her to speak more about that.
You might want to pull your mic a little
Okay.
closer.
The special land use is needed because educational facilities are treated in our zoning ordinance as, educational facilities are treated as special land uses in our zoning ordinance, and the placement of the structure is considered an expansion of the use. Because of the setback and parking provisions in the zoning ordinance, there really wasn't any way for them to place a mobile classroom structure on the site without a variance. And so the applicants applied for and were granted variances from sections 151031 and 1813 to allow the placement of the classroom on the site, provided that the Planning Commission grants the special use permit. We have the principal, Camille Delano, from the school available to answer questions, and we need to conduct a public hearing tonight.
Okay. The original request had it for the corner, and since then has been relocated to a more central position, correct?
Yes, the original request to the ZBA would have placed the structure at the southeast corner of the property. And after the public hearing, there were several neighbors that expressed some concern about that location, and the ZBA had some concerns as well and asked the applicants to reconsider the location of the structure.
Right.
And
So-
they returned with a proposal at the center of the property, and at that time, the variance was approved.
So you can put up page 46, please. Okay, 'cause I guess the one question I have, since this is where the special use has gone, and there was talk that this is supposed to be a temporary structure. When you were in talks with the school representatives, is there a future plan to add or remodel and add a permanent structure to the existing school? Or is this meant to truly be a temporary classroom?
No, and they can talk a little bit more about that when you're ready. The ultimate plan would be to add on to the school and have a permanent
Okay.
structure, but they do not have construction plans ready at this time.
Right, and so my point is, I would imagine where they would need to build would be in the very location that they were forced into to put the mobile building. So if they go to build it, that building's gonna have to be moved again for classes, so I don't know, I
Depending on
never
the
thought that was
plans.
the right decision,
Yes.
but, okay. Just want to clarify that.
Okay.
So who's here from the school? Oh, I see Brian's back there, no,
Brian is here, yes.
all right.
Camille Delano. I am the principal at St. Basil Catholic School. I live at 1830 138th Avenue, Door. And in answer to your question, that is correct. That is the likely place that we would be adding on or building in addition to the school. When we talked to the zoning board about that, and we did bring it up to them, they said that they would allow us to move that to the disliked location for the temporary period of building the new structure. So that's how that worked out.
Okay. Now, just to cut you off a minute, is that something we could put in this motion, that if they do go to build, that they have assurances this building can be relocated?
I think that's something this board can do. The zoning ordinance does also provide for a temporary structure like this for a 12-month period during construction. So we have that provision now. So if they knew that they were ready and had construction plans and it was only going to be a 1-year period, we wouldn't be here today because the ordinance provides for that. But because they're not ready yet and it's going to be a couple of years.
Well, they can get an extension. We passed that already.
I think that we could cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. I
That's
just
okay.
needed some information.
No,
Go
and I'll
ahead.
go through this very quickly. No, that's okay. But you've already seen where we're going to place this, and we've already dealt with the parking issues with the zoning board. And, you know, obviously, there's just not a whole lot of locations for parking. But this area is not used for parking when school is in session anyways, because that's part of like where the kids play. So we're already looking to adjustments to our schedule next year for having less playground space. If you'll go ahead, next couple. One more. Yep. So this is what we're looking at, is a 2-classroom structure, no bathrooms, no water hookup. It is going to be, since it's going to be set up right next to the south double doors where there are, you know, the kids can easily get in for bathrooms, emergency purposes, water, all that kind of stuff. It would just be electrical hookup is what we're looking at doing. And we would be making it look presentable. We don't want it to look junky for not only for the neighbors, but for ourselves. You know, obviously, this is not the ideal addition to what we're looking to do, but it's what we need to do at the very least at this point in time. And the classrooms would be utilized by, one side would be the art room because the art teacher is going to be losing her classroom. And the other side would be used for our STEM and science lab, which we currently do not have, but we received a very large grant in order to be able to put in a STEM and science lab for our students. And so that's what we'd be utilizing the space for. We are opening up the last 2 classrooms in our building as classrooms this fall. So we are out of space. If you want to go ahead. And this just gives you a quick brief breakdown. Our enrollment has increased by 127% in the last 6 years. And we are already looking up again for next year. So this is kind of where we're at. We've just seen an explosion of enrollment in a very short period of time, and we didn't see it coming quite like that, especially with COVID. Go ahead. And as I said, it's going to be used for classroom space. We are setting up the schedule to where we have a specific person who's going to be out there utilizing it with every classroom K-8 with our students next year. So, and then the art teacher, obviously, she's going to be out there, but the students aren't going to, one class is not going to be sitting there all the time. So, you know, for safety purposes, I obviously want to keep the kids in the brick and mortar building as much as possible. But they will be going back and forth, and we have it set up to where, like I said, close to doors. We have talked to our liaison in terms of school safety, Michigan State Police, and they have looked over stuff and had said, you know, you just follow your same protocols for emergencies, and they'll come out and take a look at it once it's all in place to just double check all of that for us. Doors will remain locked, just like we do in the building, and students will be kept as safe as possible. But we also have expanded into things like robotics and Lego League, and again, this would be utilized for those as well. We're kind of hanging out in the hallways of our building right now because we don't have any room. That's where we're at. So this is why we're asking for the variances and to be allowed to put this in place.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for her?
Thank you for the total enrollment. That's fabulous. So how many classrooms total? I don't remember.
In the building?
In the building.
We currently have 10 classrooms. 2 of them, one is, like I said, the art room. The other one has been sort of an extra that's been used for a variety of purposes, but one's going to become a 2nd grade classroom and one's going to become a 5th grade classroom.
Okay. And regarding the portable, like, I know people say these are temporary, but, you know, I've been in education a long time. They tend to hang around and not go away.
Well-
Is there a plan for if you don't get your building fund planned? How long are you planning on keeping it, I guess, is the short story.
As little as, or as less as possible, or as less of a time as possible. We don't want this to be our permanent situation. So there is that drive to get something else in place as soon as we can. And we've already started looking at some plans. Brian has already started taking some measurements and putting some possible things together for us, just to give us some basics. And then we will be moving forward from there. So we are really hoping to have something more permanent in place within 4 years.
4 years, thank you.
I appreciate the question because I had a similar one, and I was wondering if we need to put that as part of what we'll approve this evening, that after 4 years, because that's what you have within your plan, that either you come back and ask for an extension or we include it in our voting today. So it's just something to think about.
Thank you.
It is a valid question. The special use infinite? Yeah, it is.
Usually special land use runs with the land unless it's vacated, no longer
Right.
used.
So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else? No? Well, thank you for your time. Unless there's any further questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Guess I would take a motion to approve the special land use for St. Basil's School to additionally include the 4 recommendations by staff found on page 36 of our packet.
Very good.
Not just the first 3.
Just the first 3? Oh, just the first 3 of our packet.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Support?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported, so the one he left off was item 4. Any other reasonable conditions that the planning commission may feel necessary to protect the residents' health, safety, and welfare. Are there any of those items?
Don't think they still have to do laps anymore. So I think things are good.
Okay,
They're not on the playground.
very good.
And as far as the 4 years, should that be included in the amendment piece or as part of the conditions?
I don't know, what would legal say to that one?
Well, whether or not we should include a 4-year sunset on something like this, although it normally runs with the land,
Yeah.
we don't
Right.
necessarily want this to be, 7 or 8 years into it.
I don't think you can.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I don't think we can, yeah.
They're as interested in getting this thing done as we are. They're getting it done. And I think we can trust them to go to work as fast as they possibly can. And if it takes more than 4 years, it takes that long. That would be my opinion.
Depends how fast the wicker basket gets filled up, doesn't it?
Guess we're all going back to church.
And I'm sure as a Catholic school, they'll be praying that this is over the line.
All right, we've got a motion, second. I think everything's been discussed.
Before we vote, do we need to do the public hearing?
Oh, yeah, we do have to do that, don't we?
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
And you know what our motion is already, so that's a lot to
Yeah.
talk about.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. No, withdraw the first motion we did.
Oh, yeah.
We've got that on the table, so let's just,
Have to withdraw the first motion?
let's just drop it, yeah. It's can't have two motions on the table at the same, or on the floor at the same time. So
Okay.
withdraw the first motion.
I withdraw my first motion.
There you go. All right, now make the public hearing motion.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public hearing's open. Anybody wish to speak? You have 5 minutes. State your name, address.
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I think St. Basil's has met all the conditions from the ZBA and whatever, and I think you should approve this. Thank you.
By the way, nice shirt, Dan. Good fishing shirt.
Your wife wouldn't let you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Clark, hit it.
I make a motion to approve 94 Superior Street, St. Basil Catholic School special land use, and to include the recommendations by staff found on page 36 of the agenda packet, items 1 through 3.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I don't think we need to do a roll call on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, good luck with your project. Next item, 7A, the fire pit,
Oh, God.
the dreaded fire pit committee.
Fire walk with me.
So, as we know, Lige was one of the 3 members of the fire pit committee. He's resigned. Currently, Mike and Clark are on that ad hoc committee and need another one. So who's willing to participate so we can get this one moving again?
We could always put Daryl in. He's not here.
Yeah,
Daryl's not here.
We appoint Daryl, yeah.
That's really mean.
Is there anybody here that's sitting right now that's interested in, you're almost done with that. You just need to have one more meeting, correct? Could we get it done in one more?
I think one more meeting would allow for significant progress. I would like to think that we could, but I do not promise that that is the case.
Okay.
I would hope it would take 1, maybe 2, otherwise, my fence will get a lot of talking, and I need to get that taken care of.
So maybe 2 meetings, and your meetings run, well, I had to chair the first one because Lige was late, but like 2 hours?
Approximately an hour.
Hour? So 2 meetings at an hour each, it's only 2 hours of your time for the good of the city.
And it
I'll do it.
doesn't need to be at 7
there we go.
o'clock.
George will do it, so.
Thank you, George.
Good. Good
Thank you,
man,
George.
George.
Thanks, George. Meetings at your house.
Okay?
I didn't want to mediate the voice.
I don't think we really need to make a motion on that, because as chair, I can appoint George. So let's keep going. So that was 7A, all done. Item 8, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the planning commission regarding items that were not on this agenda. Is there anybody that wishes to do so? State your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
This is, with regard to Mr. Haney, I'm very sorry to hear that he had to resign, considering he just applied on May 5th, got appointed on May 15th, and now had to resign. So I pray that he and his family are okay with the unexpected change. Because he was just appointed, the mayor is encouraged to select someone from applicants who had timely applied. I know that there were others for that seat. My understanding, there are women who applied for that seat. And under the requirements of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, the Planning Commission shall be representative of important segments of the community, and the membership shall be representative of the entire territory of the local unit of government to the extent practicable. considering that the current planning commission, until the resignation, was 75% men, I think it's time that we have more women, especially in a city that touts itself as being diverse. And again, I do understand that there were women who applied, and I think that appointment from someone who had timely applied for the seat that had just been filled and just vacated would go 35 feet or higher in garnering support from the local community that encourages people to apply and acknowledges the efforts of those who apply timely and recognizes the value that the diversity would bring to this. And my bigger concern is that if someone who had timely applied, considering the seat had just been filled, was not appointed, there could be concerns with compliance with Michigan Planning Enabling Act that could cloud decisions subsequent to the appointment of filling that seat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, let's move on to the unfinished business. These are discussion items that are non-actionable. So item 9, duties of the Harbor Commission, proposed ordinance text amendments.
Yes. Last month, we began a discussion on some proposed amendments to address waterfront projects that require both Planning Commission and Harbor Commission review. As you may remember, members of the Harbor Commission recently requested this amendment to clarify the types of projects that they would review in order to eliminate the need for the Harbor Commission to review small projects like pools and decks while retaining the ability to review projects in the water and also larger, more significant waterfront projects. At the last meeting, some concern was expressed for ensuring adequate review of waterfront projects, and no action was taken. And following the meeting, staff reviewed the Harbor Commission meeting files dating back several years, and we found that swimming pools, for example, on waterfront lots have required special land use permits from the Planning Commission since at least the mid-1990s, but it wasn't until 2019 that staff began sending these types of pool, hot tub, deck applications to the Harbor Commission for review prior to planning. And the only reason we can find for the procedural change is that the staff reviewing applications at the time, based on a literal reading of Section 3830 of the City Code, determined that the Harbor Commission was required to review waterfront projects that also require Planning Commission review. So the proposed amendments that you have in your packet do not change at this time any review that the Planning Commission would be required to make. It would simply be that the Harbor Commission would no longer review the smaller types of deck and pool projects that we've been sending in more recent years, but have not historically sent to that body. I don't know if that helps.
Yes.
To have that additional information. But our goal for the evening is to discuss the text before you, garner any feedback that you might have to offer, and set a public hearing for a meeting in the future if we're ready. There is no public hearing tonight.
Right. Basically, everything comes to the Planning Commission anyways. And there's nothing the Harbor Commission looks at that the Planning Commission does not, correct?
There are some things that the Harbor Commission does that are specifically related to the Harbor Commission. They have looked at, things involving weather buoys and fuel spillage and, specific harbor-related things that the Planning Commission does not review. But land use project-wise, no, there would not be a project that would go to the Harbor Commission that would not come to the Planning Commission.
So they're actually relinquishing
of at
some
this
of their,
time, I
their
should
own
clarify.
oversight. And I don't think it really matters to us one way or the other. Right? If they don't want to do it, they don't have to.
And I think what they're doing is they're trying to retain everything that's wet.
Yes.
And that's the expertise that we're looking for input. And then from that point forward, we're taking over. So I think it does take stuff off from their plate that sometimes will then make projects take longer because they have an additional approval to go through. And I know sometimes it's harder for them to get a quorum. So I concur with what they want to, make these changes and take that off from their plate.
I agree. We're going to get it anyways, so why are we double working and making,
The
residents
applicant.
have to jump through an extra hoop when it's coming here anyways?
And has anybody on this commission been on Harbor Commission?
I spent 4 years on the Harbor
Yeah,
Commission.
so did I.
I'm married to
So-
one, does that count?
I'm just, I know over the years, they've wanted some ability to oversight on some of these projects that they will no longer be capable of doing. And I just wonder if that'll come back and they'll say, well, we wanted to look at that. You say, no, on June 1st, you guys said you did not. Right?
Right.
They can always come to the public hearing.
Right, very true. But all right, I don't see anything wrong with the text changes. Anybody else? So I would say go ahead and do the public hearing notice for the July meeting. And then we could pass it then. Agreed? Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, good enough? All you needed to hear?
Yes, thank you.
Brad, anything for that one?
I was the one that read it too literally.
Okay.
So I saw it had to be approved by the Planning Commission, it had to be approved by the Harbor Commission. I apologize for the last 4 years.
I'm not going to tell them you were the one.
I think they already know.
Oh, darn.
All right, so that was unfinished business for discussion. The next one is new business for discussion, which is the 1 North Bailey Avenue. And forgive me if I mispronounce this, is it Midadari?
Midadari, yes,
Okay, Marina,
yes.
preliminary site plan review for a proposed PUD.
Yes.
All right,
Thanks. And I am going to turn this over to Brad. Brad has been working with the Midadaris and with Travis before me, who was in my position, to discuss a potential development for this site, which is at the end of Bailey. And you've got a preliminary site plan before you tonight, and so I will turn it over to Brad, who's
okay, can
Gonna
we
talk
put
about
up, page 63 is the introduction, and look through the engineering here. Go ahead. See if there's a better drawing. Yeah, maybe page 85. You like that one, Brad? Or 86?
Either one of those, I think you get the gist of what's there
Okay.
to the best of the ability. It's a tight spot.
It is.
It's a tight spot.
Maybe 86. I like that one better. It's not as cluttered.
Are you all familiar with this property out there? It's right
I
at
am.
that tail end of Bailey Street, kind of off
Yep.
on its own out in the middle of there. It's past the Black River Boat Club. And there was a couple cottages, small, very small cottages, apparently old fishing cottages that were out there. The applicant himself, this particular parcel was originally 2 parcels, and it contained a marina. The cottage that is still planned to exist there was one of them, and there was a cottage that was on the other parcel itself, the other one. That cottage was unlivable, and the applicant wished to demolish that and build a new residence on the property. At that time, we instructed him, because he has a marina on the property as well, he cannot do that. Therefore, the only way that a non-conforming use like that would be able to do, you would have to do it, is through a PUD in this district. Because the parcels were combined was because he had to establish the principal building that is on there presently on one solid lot to keep the residential on it. And the marina buildings that exist on the site are also dimensionally non-conforming to the district as well. So there were several non-conformities with the property. If the applicant wished to continue forward without either closing the marina or tearing and not building down the structures that are on there. So the applicant then came, after we had discussed that this is really the only feasible way that any sort of clearance of the nonconformity could happen. He came to us and had some ideas about what he would like to put on there, and proposed at the time to add a couple additional units on there. I told him, you know, that is something that we could work through with the PUD process. There's lots of steps and procedures to go through, and this is the first one here. He has to come in and speak with you, introduce the project, and kind of discuss it himself. So that is really the background basis of how the property is where it's at today, and the conditions that it's in, the overall condition why he's here to do what he wants to do. What the applicant is proposing is to construct 3 additional dwelling units on the property, which would total 4 on the property itself, and maintain the marina and improve the property to, you know, better for the marina and the residents that would be living on the parcel. When Kelly and I sat down, even Travis, back when Travis was here, sat down initially with them, we discussed that, you know, this parcel is less than half an acre in site. It's very tight on parking as it is. Because there's a residence on it, it already has a driveway there. If he's going to be adding more residences on it, he's going to have to either add garages or more driveways that are on there. In addition, he has to also bring the parking into conformity on the property at 1.5 spaces per dock slip that belongs to the parcel. So that's something else that really physically couldn't fit on this parcel because of the size. So that was a nonconformity as well, is that the parking wasn't there. The applicant does own the property directly across the street, and that has traditionally been where they have had all of their boaters park, was on the other parcel that he does own. And then during the off-season, that's where they are allowed to store their boats, which is permitted under the ordinance. They can store between basically, I think, Labor Day and Memorial Day in parking, dedicated parking, but that during the on-season, they have to permit, you know, vehicles only. So those are just some of the things that are going on, particularly with this site. I don't think we necessarily have to go through each of the review steps, but I'll just go through the general site review so you can get an idea of what's going on. They do know there are some things that still need to be turned in with this. One of the reasons, similar to what we did to the Center Street project, was make sure we establish all the correct deviations. If they want to establish deviations, that they have to meet the PUD requirements, you know, all those types of things. So those are the things that we're going to discuss, and then you can ask the applicant about. Is there any questions for me right now? You want me to jump directly into that, speak with the applicant right now, and then circle back to me, or?
Well, I think for me, and you mentioned it, was the parking part. And to make this work, do these properties either need to be combined or?
Well, and that's the question that we had. That was the trouble that we had too, was it would have been much easier just to combine all the parcels together to make it a larger piece, because the other parcel actually is much larger than this one.
Yeah.
However, number 8 Bailey Street, at the very tail end of the street, his neighbor's cottage is smack in the middle of all this other property. Therefore, they don't touch.
Right.
So it can't be done.
Because it's hard to say yes when,
Yeah.
with that,
So-
that type of nonconformity when it comes to parking.
Right. So I explained to them, really the only possible way it can be done, it's going to be easier with him because he is the property owner and that's where the parking has traditionally been stored, is he will have to put on the deed someplace that there is a parking agreement recorded.
Yes.
That that will be used there and that it can't be taken away.
Okay, very good. All right, that was my big one. Anybody else before we have Brad run through it?
I have questions about some of his language here, but
I'll just wait till he does that, but I think that was the big one, was the parking, from my review.
yeah, mine's about residential density, so it's a
Okay,
big
well,
one.
that's a good one, too.
That's another one we have to talk
Yeah.
about.
Okay, go ahead.
You gonna leash me? Okay.
Yep, go ahead. and
I'm just
tell
going to
us
start
what you
through. I
want.
just went through the whole use and the reason for it, the fact that it's non-conforming now, and in order to reestablish an additional residence on it, because it's a mixed use, he really couldn't use anything he couldn't create anything that he chose to do or wanted to do for it. So the change of that is the reason, but I already went through that. Dimensionally, we did go through this. The B3 district does have, and I apologize for the confusion earlier on this. I got confused up between some of the stuff with Trailside. But basically, this district requires a 25-foot front yard setback, 10-foot side yard setback, and 20-foot rear yard setback. So we are going to claim the waterfront side as a rear yard in this sense. Really, in our ordinance, we don't have anything that specifically states that the waterfront side is classified as a front yard. A lot of people do, but we don't here. So I shrunk it down actually by 5 feet for that one. Front yard setbacks, all the buildings that are being proposed there, including the additional cottage, or the cottage that does exist right now, all meet the front yard setback minimums. There's no issues there. Unit 1, the one that's furthest to the north, is for the side yard setback to meet 10 feet, which is right next door to that neighbor at number 8. Right now, it's at 6 feet away from the property line. It's required to be 10, so there would be a 4-foot deviation, particularly on that dimension for that unit. Unit 2 does meet the dimensional. It's over 12 feet or just over 12 feet away, so that meets the requirements for there. Unit 3 is a 5-foot, and that's on the other side, on the other residence, on the other side of the property. And that would also need a 5-foot deviation. Rear yards, you're at about 14 and a half feet on Unit 1, which is to the edge of the water there. It's really to the boardwalk that's, or near or midway underneath or wherever the edge of the seawall is there. For that, so they would need about 5 feet of a deviation on that particular unit. And then Unit 3, again, would need about 5 feet. Unit 2 does comply. The existing buildings, the marina building itself, which does contain a bathroom, it has some storage in it, and there's some other things in there for the marina users. They are actually only just a little over 4 feet off that property line. As I mentioned before, that was a non-conforming structure that is dimensionally placed on the property. And the existing cottage is about 17, almost 18 feet away. That, again, is just slightly non-conforming. As you know, a lot of these would be technically grandfathered in. However, in my opinion, if we're going to be establishing a PUD and you're going to be creating deviations for setbacks on other buildings, you might as well place a deviation on these as well to have it recorded as all buildings on the property. So that was my reason for doing that and not just ignoring them.
Hey, Brad?
Yes.
It looks to me like Unit 3 meets the rear yard setback. At 28.2 feet, it's greater than 20 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you are correct. Lot width is fine. There's no minimum in this district. Lot area, there is no minimum. As I said, it's 0.46 acres, so it's small. The building height itself, there is a 35-foot maximum height in this district and 2 stories. The buildings that are being proposed here, as measured in the architectural sections, are about 30 feet tall. However, they're 3-story buildings. So that's something that have to be, discussed with them about as well. And if that would be granted, that would have to be a deviation as well. There are development requirements for a PUD. Utilities all have to be installed underground. They're aware of that, and so is the city engineer. Parking, I've already discussed parking for this, and usable pedestrian space is required. This is an unusual parcel in the fact that the road that's out there, the public road, really kind of stops at the Black River Boat Club. It is gravel, and you really, I mean, you'd have to have a surveyor out there to tell you exactly how wide it is. You really cannot tell where the edge of the road is. No sidewalks exist up and down that entire peninsula on either side of the street. The closest sidewalk would be really the Calhaven Trail at that corner that's down towards the city more on land. That's the nearest sidewalk. So really, when you're thinking about connection pedestrian-wise, for off-road pedestrian connections that you might typically see in a larger, more suburban-style PUD development, this doesn't have anything designed on there presently, and there's really not much there for a little ways down the road yet. So, you know, you may require that they put some sidewalks in there, but eventually they would stop dead, and you would still have a large gap in between. The other residential density, as Commissioner Neese pointed out, the B3 district does have a 7 dwelling unit per acre density requirement. This calculates at about 8.7 with the 4 units on there. So it basically, in order to meet that 7, they would have to take off 1 dwelling unit on the property. So that would be another deviation that would be required for this project. Open space is this plenty met. There's only about 15% that's actually covered by non-pervious surfaces, such as the concrete where the parking is for the buildings, and the buildings themselves, the footprints. So there's actually around 68% that's there. So the open space is there, even though it's mighty small. And then if we get into landscaping and buffering, that's where you're going to have to, you know, think about that, of how it's going to be done. I'm sure it's going to be seeded. It is a lot right now. It's grass. And they may have some intentions to put some other landscaping in there. They are proposing a 6-foot-tall white vinyl fence along the property where the house is very close to that Unit 1 up there on the property line. They would have to install some sort of screening on the other side as well. One of the requirements is that also the open space has to be a minimum width anywhere it's open of at least 20 feet. In this, around a lot of this, it would be very difficult to do that because it's, again, 5 feet here, 7 feet here, 6.8 feet there, that sort of thing. All the parking spaces in the parking lot do meet the dimensional requirements as drawn on there. The city engineer did state that he would like to see the aisle width slightly larger between the 2 parking rows on that side, and then also that if they are going to connect it to the city street or the gravel street or wherever it is down there, that they would have to show exactly how that's done through grading and all those things. But that's engineering thing that Rob Lamer, the engineer for the project, would be discussing with Mike here in between this and the next hearing. Waste, as of right now, they handle it all just with the small cans. You should probably just discuss it with them. I know they're not planning on installing a dumpster on site, and that might be something you want to discuss with them. They do have balconies, but they're not balconies in the sense that they're overhanging the building. They're basically just cutouts of the floor, so therefore they're all within the actual footprint of the building itself. And then they would, as they go through with the engineering, they would have to file for a Phase 1 ESA report as well, just to do a background search on this property. Stormwater runoff, floodplain issues, things like that, the city engineer would have to work with their engineer to ensure that that is all, that meets EGLE requirements and things like that. The applicant is not proposing any changes or alterations to the boardwalk or the dockage that's on site, so there's no intention of touching any of the marina facilities. It's strictly just the dwelling units themselves, and then installing the parking and the driveways. So that's really, in a nutshell, what this project is.
Just out of curiosity, have any soil borings been handed to you? And if so, what depth?
Not to me, no. That's something, you could talk to their engineer about and stuff, but no, not that I know of.
All right.
Hey, Brad, question. I remember we used this in Overton. Is there a density bonus calculation that can be applied to this PUD?
Not for B3.
Okay.
That is for where you have to, in the residential PUD districts, or when you claim a residential PUD, you have to submit a parallel figure out what your residential density can be for that project site, and then you can calculate it, and then there's all those bonuses that you can add on top of it if you do certain things. B3 is a straight cap at 7 per acre.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding, I went down there and to look, and the house that you're talking about that is not part of the property, is that the one that as you're going around that drive, it's straight
in?
Okay,
Yep.
and then there's number 1 Bailey over.
It's the house on the
yeah.
left.
So are these proposed homes or structures on that? Oh, and then there's a storage building or a barn or storage.
So if you're driving out to the end of the street, all of this development would take place on the right side
okay.
of it. Nothing on the left side would be touched except for
Okay.
all that space that's open right now in the front.
Yes.
That's where the parking would be located.
I see, okay. Okay.
Brad, I had some questions, page 66 on the residential density. As simply as I can, the way I read this, if we did not do a PUD, they could put 3 units on there, correct?
No.
Wait.
They could not.
They could.
They could not. They could not operate the marina and have the marina, and they could not build any more residences on the property, even if it was 3. So if they only built 2 more units and kept the existing cottage, they would not be able to do it because they're proposing a change to the property, which is right now a non-conforming use.
That's my confusion, because the sentence says, "A parallel plan showcasing the maximum residential density of dwelling units permitted in the zoning district without any deviation." How many, and how many the PUD is proposing?
I'm sorry about
It's
that.
already amended.
I didn't mean to confuse you on that.
Isn't that what he amended?
And I thought you said earlier, around the density, that he would have to remove one of the buildings.
Correct. In order to be able to meet the 7, they
So
would have
maybe
to
I didn't say it.
remove.
Maybe I didn't say it correctly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
One option is to get rid of one of the buildings to bring it into the current density
The
requirement.
density conformance, yes, would be
Yes,
to remove
okay.
one building.
That's the point I want to make.
Yes,
That
yeah.
does not necessarily
I'm sorry.
mean that unit has to be one of the 3 condos.
Correct.
It could be the existing cottage.
It could be. Could be.
Now, why don't you put page 89 up? Yeah.
89.
Okay. All right, does anybody else on the commission have any questions for staff before I ask the applicants to come to the podium?
I guess one quick question to Brad. Brad, if they took these buildings and put 2 of them together in one building,
One
well, I
structure.
mean, one duplex
Right,
type
yes.
building,
Would they be able to fit 4? No, because it says
Okay.
dwelling units per
All right.
acre.
thank you.
Yeah, if it said structures, it would be much easier. Because there is a section in there about number of structures, but in blocks of 4
Thank you.
maximum, but
Thank you.
they would still have to do the 7.
All right. Anybody from the applicant like to come up and talk about the project?
Thank you for allowing us to talk. My name is Monica Minaderi. This is my husband, Frank. I would like to preface this by saying I was born and raised in South Haven. I am not some outsider trying to get going here and make some bank in South Haven. I am very South Haven conscious. I remember when this town brought in McDonald's and thought that that was the greatest thing when I was in high school. So along with our development, my veins still run deep with South Haven, in spite of the fact I moved to Grand Rapids Metropolis for 25 years and have come back. We are living here now in our 2nd year. I am very conscious of what South Haven is about. I'm honored, Commissioner, that you went out to the property and looked at the property and surveyed it yourself, there's nothing offensive I would ever want to bring here or to the property that we are looking to develop. With that, I will just turn this over to my husband right now.
I'm Frank Midadari. We came into this town about 12, 13 years ago as a boater. Met an incredible man that owned two of the properties prior. Fell in love with the man. He had some health issues. We worked a deal. And the property did not look like it looked today. We spent a lot of time beautifying and trying to make these three properties something eye-appealing. We have put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into the property just to get it where it was today. I can't tell you how many truckloads of stuff that we took out of this property that most of you folks probably were never down there to see it. Out of garages, out of back doors, out of the water, out of the docks, out of the underground, out of the top ground. Our whole goal is to make a beautiful project. We are not here to put a bunch of rentals in. Our goal is to sell a couple of these properties so this place can cash flow. You are very familiar with our tax system here, and you could only charge so much for a dock. I don't have a whole lot to say because we're so in love with the property, and we're just going to make this thing a better place. It still looks like Green Acres. We have a half a road. My wife can't even bring her car down there. If you ever looked at the electrical system, it's unbelievable. The men that we bought these properties for were wonderful men, but they did what they wanted. A permit was never done. They threw up a building. They threw this out. This drain went in here. This went in there. This went up here. This went this way. This got dumped here. And they didn't have the means or the help to do what we're trying to do. And we're going to make this thing an incredible piece of property. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, very good. Gentlemen with you are, I assume, an architect, engineer,
Yeah, Chris
contractor?
Menduzalar with Nuco Design Build, working with Frank and Monica on design, construction, development.
Yeah, and I'm Rob Pearson with Merit Midwest. We did the site plan.
Okay, Rob. So I'd ask Brad, I don't know if you've gotten this far yet. Have you done any soil borings down there?
No, not yet. It's definitely, we want to get through this first meeting, but it's definitely on the plan.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there's a pretty good layer of peat, probably 25, 30 feet down. So the reason I'm saying this now is because oftentimes when the owners and the engineers come back and we don't have that in front of us, then we're going to ask for it to make sure you're on stable footing. So just saying it out loud now.
So you're saying before next submittal, you'd like to see a soil boring report?
Well, if we're going to do a approval
Right.
for structures, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And with the seawalls, some are in good repair, some aren't, and, depending on how big the building is, weight of the building, shoreline pressure, just answer those questions, and then we don't even have to ask you next time.
I had Randy King come out and survey and look at everything, and he says, well, we're good for at least 12 to 15 years. Don't spend money. I said, thank you. And we have removed the building already and combined the two properties.
Okay. So any other comments from the commission? We've seen what they're proposing. Brad's explained how he went about helping them to conform as best they could with still being non-conforming, but going the PUD process. And by the way, PUDs are exempt from short-term rental, so.
I've been by the property multiple times, both in the water and outside the water. And, it definitely, if you look at that side of the water, it looks completely different than the other side of the water. There's been a lot of development along that corridor, if we want to look at it that way. So definitely these kinds of structures wouldn't be outside the norm of what you see along the water there. Yes, it is a fairly non-conforming, odd area, they certainly would be bringing up, a lot of improvement in that area, and hopefully Brad has done a nice job of going through. There's not necessarily going to be an easy project, and there's going to be a lot of, requirements and asks, but not necessarily outside the norm of what it may take to do something here, and it is a good piece of property that would be highly improved. So hopefully we can give some good direction. And I do want to appreciate, I knew some of the information came in really late from staff. And Kelly, I applaud you for at least getting that into our hands and into the public's hands now. I know this is just a preliminary, but we're hoping this helps you, and this helps us, and this helps the public at the same time. So thank you.
Yeah, and as most preliminaries go, the intent on this is, are we acceptable to kind of what's going on, but here's some feedback in order to truly make it acceptable. So I would think, unless anybody else has a differing opinion, we're acceptable, but you need to go and look at this report we received, and you're going to have to address those items.
I agree, Tim, and the issues I raised are certainly not about the project. I've been down there as well. I have a friend that has a place down there, and it needs help. So I'm thrilled that help is on its way. But the issue, as a planning commissioner, we must keep in mind is PUDs are an innovative way to give flexibility, but it's a quid pro quo process. I want to make sure that the city is getting the benefit back quid pro quo by allowing another PUD. In my 6 years on the Planning Commission, I can't count how many times we've had people coming up talking about problems with their PUD. Let's not do that again. Let's make sure going forward from an administration and from a management point of view from the city, we're very clear about what we expect. And hopefully we can get this done for you.
I want to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend.
Oh, no, you were very clear. No, and I'm certain you wouldn't. I'm talking things that you probably can't control, economic issues that we, right. For instance, our current ordinance says that PUDs are exempt from the short-term vacation rental ratio. That's not going to be popular with a huge part of the population.
So what?
Right.
I like not having renters.
And
No, you could, is what I'm saying. Our ordinance allows it. So it's just little stuff like that that we just need to talk about as a commission.
And the property that's in between it, if we own that property, things would be a lot easier. But those are wonderful, great people that have been in this town since the 70s. They run businesses. I don't want to push them.
Absolutely.
We love them.
Just out of curiosity, how many square feet are each of these units?
They're 800.
800
800 per floor, so.
per floor? Okay, gotcha. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
I just have a comment. I would like to thank Kelly for helping me understand that the place I couldn't figure out how to find is directly across the river from my boat. So thank you for that. I look at you guys every week, at least every other day, yeah. And it's already improved, I will say that. But yes, I'm looking forward to more of that, so.
I'd just like to echo something that Michael said, and that's PUDs are designed that you get something and we get something. And when I look at the increased density here, when I look at the parking problems that are here, you're getting a lot from us, and I'm looking for a lot back. Okay?
The first time I'd been that far down on Bailey was when I started looking at this, so I like the way this is going. I had a couple questions. So from the views up there, you can see that the entrances are on the shorter side of the dwelling units. For like Unit 1, you've only got 6 feet between that dwelling unit and the property line, yet you've got a door right out there on that side. Is there anything that you need to do special because that door is kind of close to the property line? Is there any?
You want to answer that, Chris?
In terms of like fire rating or anything like that?
No, I mean, in terms of, are you going to have like some kind of a concrete pad or something like that right outside the door? Or?
Yeah, the next step here is we're going to flush that out a little bit further. We have the floor plans kind of worked out, but what are we going to do with surrounding there? Are we going to have some outdoor patios? What size are they? Trying to work through the privacy side. If, one is on this side, one's on the other side. Obviously, you can see there's not a lot of space around there. So let's try to best utilize that to have some outdoor space. Obviously, the idea is to have some decks, which is kind of more internal space, so you still get to expose yourself to the water, but it would be nice to have some ground floor outside space.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a rough drawing. We didn't want to get so detailed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understand.
Start before the horse.
So one of the things with the PUD is you can take deviations from like setbacks. And Unit 3 is 5 feet from the property line. You've got 24 feet between Unit 3 and the existing house. Was there any discussion about maybe trying to move Unit 3 a little bit further toward the center of the property and maybe lessening or getting rid of that deviation on that end?
I think it's something we can look at. At the time, we were just going with minimum setbacks on there just to get it established on the site, but we certainly can adjust those over to reduce as many of the deviation requests that we're looking for.
Okay. And the other thing, kind of Brad mentioned about sidewalks, I saw there were no sidewalks down there. Would there be any intent to try to have any kind of sidewalk or?
I would
not
love
really?
a paved road up to start with. I'd love to get the electric right.
It's a forgotten road.
It's a forgotten road. I call the city every 90 days and they fill it. And if you drive there now, it's a dust bowl. And I don't think the city knows the traffic that's down there because everybody just comes in there, turns around, and comes back. They don't read the sign.
That is a city road, not a private drive?
Correct.
So there's about 117 potholes.
The right-of-way goes right up to where the driveway is,
Got
I
it.
believe, of the neighbor that's already down there.
And I brought in 2 trains of asphalt just to make it so people could even go down those roads. And I proposed to the city every time they dump gravel, just put asphalt, and I keep getting gravel. So I'm going to probably do, if I can't get any help, I'll just bring another train of asphalt in and do it myself again.
Well, that's the guy you need to talk to. He's your ward rep.
He was pointing here, by the way.
Okay, we all done? Is that good? Well, thank you for coming in, sharing your project with us. We look forward to seeing your final application. All right, item 11, commission member and staff comments. Kelly, do you have anything?
I just want to thank Brad for his assistance on the Mid-Dairy project and others. He's really a great asset to us, a great assistance to me, to our department, and so I just want to thank him for his continued assistance. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight with no air conditioning and for sticking it out and still doing the best you can for our city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Where did we start last time? I don't remember. We'll just go with Amy.
All right. Again, thanks to Kelly for my directionally unsound self, because my husband wasn't home this week, so I couldn't get him to help me find out where this was. So thank you for that, and thank you for your patience explaining all the rest of the things you had to explain to me today. So that's it.
Okay, Clark?
I think a few years ago, I was in planning when we decided to finally change the front of the yard from the water side back to the road.
Yep.
Because that was a unique thing that happened all along Monroe Boulevard and then both rivers. So I'm glad that finally got taken care of for us because that was unique.
That was also an assessing question.
It was, yeah, that was a big one. I do appreciate the comment that today that came from what experience an individual has with other municipalities. That's really good input. And, we didn't give 100% of what that individual was requesting, but it certainly helped make things a little easier knowing there's not a whole nother layer that some applicants will hopefully down the road have to go through in X number of months if that goes through. And I had 3 kids graduate from St. Basil's, so it's good to see the number of kids that are there now, because there weren't that many when my kids went through. And lastly, I was really kind of hoping for one of Monica's cookies tonight. She does the cookies here in town.
They'd have melted.
Yeah.
We'd have melted with them.
And that would have been nice to, we shared a neighborhood back in the day. So that's everything.
Okay. Larry?
Brad, a good job on that last one, even though there was a little hiccup there. It was well done.
More than one.
And thank the rest of you for your vote of confidence. We will try to serve as well this next year as we did last year.
Yes, thanks to both of you for your hard work, and we really appreciate it. And Brad, I really, the way you described that area was very helpful to me, because even as I drove down there, I was orientating myself and having some difficulties thinking of how we're going to get homes in this area.
It kind of bends, doesn't it?
The bend and everything, yeah. So, good explanation. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to mention I participated in an email course titled Coastal Planning and Zoning, and the course was designed to be an introduction to some approaches communities can take while implementing plans for their shorelines. And part of the course included videos by Eagle, and one of the videos had an interview with our former city manager, Brian Doucette, and it also included a lot of video images of flooded South Haven, so I thought that was kind of cool looking. But I've got a link to that course if anyone is interested in it. I can send the link to Kelly, and she can send it out if anyone wants to see that. That's it.
Would you say they had the videos of the flood or the seiche we had? Is that what you were referring to?
It was during the high water time.
Yeah.
When
when the whole marina was underwater.
Yeah, basically that. Aerial shots of that. It was kind of cool.
That was awful.
And Brian was in his little raft out there.
Bobbing up and down.
Really, my heartfelt thanks to Tim and Larry. I'm so glad that you're willing to stick with us. Appreciate your leadership and helping us get through this. It's always been great. And Brad, we are sincere when we offer our thanks to you. I know you felt bad about that little glitch, but we are so very fortunate to have you and your expertise helping us out in the city. So thank you very much. And of course, that extends to the rest of the staff and to my fellow commissioners.
That's okay, Brad. We just want the deduct off your consulting fee.
Well, it's only strike one.
Just
You get a
tell my
refund?
boss to cut my communities down in half. I'll be like,
No,
I had about a
but
dozen site plans last week and about 7 on the
Yeah.
desk at the time this one was going through.
Because you do what, 5 communities?
23.
23.
So I have 23 different zoning
Yeah.
ordinances I have to know.
But we are your favorite.
That's
right?
incredible. You
Yeah.
keep
And
it
we're the only
straight.
one, by the way, Clark, that doesn't consider the waterfront as the front yard. Every other one that has water in it considers that the front yard and the roadside, the rear yard, but they allow things
Interesting,
there, or
yeah.
they'll do a double front.
So much for best practices.
Yeah, I remember there were a couple houses going up on North Shore Drive, and that's when we decided to suddenly make that change. So that's good to know that we're in the forefront.
You have to know where to put all the accessory buildings.
Correct.
And we thought we were special, that you had memorized all of ours, but I guess we know how we stand.
This ordinance is very difficult to memorize.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is.
We know we're difficult.
And that, like I said, it also plays into where the assessor places the evaluation on your property, is what the front yard is. So, well, here's my homework for you guys. So we had the Madeira one, right? And you know some of the language for the fire pit. What I want you to do for that non-conforming PUD is figure out if they wanted a fire pit, where would it go on that plan? For real.
Yeah.
Because that would be the next thing that won't be on there, and they'll ask later on, well, we want to put this fire pit in here, and you'd be like, there's no room, I think, right now, but that's a good case study.
Float it.
Float it. There you go. Put it on a raft.
Fireplaces.
Indoors.
And let the
Rooftop.
Harbor Commission worry about it.
There you go. Other than that, all right, thank you, everybody. It's past our normal operating time, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. See you in July.